Looks like I was just a little bit late. Missed the song intro or outro or whatever you want to call it. Where are you, Rocco? Gotta turn you off. By the way, if anyone wants to know the name of that song, it is Rocco. Whoa, I got some feedback here. Let's turn that off. Anyway, that song was Rocco W's All Will Be Well. Link is in this description if you like that sort of thing. If you don't, well, I hope you do. And it looks like, again, as always, the stream health is in a little bit of iffy shape. We'll see if that picks back up. It never quite does. Hey, where's my face? Where is my face? There it is. Hey, guys. How you doing? How are you doing? There's already 2 people here. Welcome. If the stream stays live, then I guess what we'll do is we'll just sort of party on. And I think you probably already know what we're going to be talking about today. Got to sit up straight here. A little bit of a, I think, pretty clever title here if you want to know my opinion on it. Shock and R. Not in the pirate way, although I suppose you could say that if Canon do this well enough that it certainly will be quite a bit like a pirate sort of party as they sort of take over, I think, the Canon world. Now, first things first, I gotta say, if you're looking at the icon here, the intro, whatever that is, that bad boy there, of course, the image and all that is coming from Canon Rumors. Canon Rumors, not the most updated rumor site on the planet. However, I think one of the better ones. They are rarely wrong, and they also are pretty discriminate with what they publish. In other words, if they publish something, it's something to be taken care of, or at least you should be looking at it, definitely, because chances are that it's going to be right are high, and chances are that it's going to be worth your while will also be high. Now, hopefully, the stream is still looking orange to me, so let's just hope that it's not sort of jumping around for everyone. Go back to OBS. OBS. You know what? This is always a problem with OBS. So I got no idea. If anyone's there in the chat to say Nathan, the stream's jumping around, then you can tell me. If not, we'll just kind of plunge straight in. And as you can tell, oh wait, I can't. Let's go over to my next scene. Yeah, I've figured out how to do this. I'm gonna click the scene. That's not it. That's my Twitter page. Ha! Go back to. This is how I do it. See if I did it right. No, that's not it. All right, hey, you guys, settle down. Let me figure this out. Double click on that. You got to be careful with this, you know. Safari. How do you go down there? Shock and R. No, that's not it. Here's a Canon R. There we are. Try that. No, that's not it. How do you do this? That's not it. Right there. That is it. Right there, I think. All right, here is a Canon EOS R5 and EOS R6. Now, I know Frono's photo. He covered this with his like weird cover-up of the rumors of the week, etc. And I'm not sure if that was all that worth. Oh, good. Stream's back up to health, guys. Oh, just started teleconference. I'll have to watch later. Thanks a lot, Martin. Thanks for like stopping in to say you'll watch later. That's all right. It's all right. He's my one regular customer. Anyway, Martin, by the way, we'll do some mini stuff later on. Not today. He joined my world of Rightmark Audio Analyzer. But let's not talk about right now. Anyway, everyone has already covered this article. Everyone's always covered this or already covered this article. Frono's, you know, like I said, he did like a minute spot after bashing Nikon, after bashing Olympus. By the way, Angry Photographer was also kind of like knew it was gonna happen. There's no profits in full frame. There's no profits in Micro Four Thirds. Yada yada yada. I think we're gonna see. Listen, I don't know. I'm not an analyst. I just want to say this. Everyone's covered this, but I think Canon's R5 and R6 are really going to signal the change in the mirrorless industry. And why do I say that? Well, I hit the bloody thing again. No, buy a hat, by the way. Buy a hat, $20. The hat's not $20. The hat's $10. But me driving or writing the logo on this thing and then driving out to the post office, all masked up and all that, and giving you a serial number and all that, and sending it off to you. That's the other $10. So I'm actually losing money on this. That's a serious quality. If you want a hat, just kind of put it in the comments or hit up my Twitter. It's in the links as well, along with Rocco stuff. All right. Let's see here. I gotta go to Safari. There we are. All right, boys and girls, you've seen this article already. I've got this on like the preview thing, so you don't see all the links and all that. But you know, wait, this is the way. Wait. Know what I'm doing? You know that the R5 and the R6 are going to be announced on the 9th of July. You know that's just in 2 weeks from now, right after Canada Day, or a week after Canada Day, by the way. Having a party over here if anyone wants to join. Probably on Saturday, a little bit early. That would be the 27th, I believe, of June. It's supposed to be on the 1st of July, but we're in the middle of, 1st of July. Can't actually take off time in Japan. I'm off topic, guys. Anyway, the R6 and the R5 are signaling something brand new. Something totally brand new. And why am I so excited about this? Well, it's because I stupidly joined the mirrorless world back in 2013 with Fujifilm X-Pro 1. Good camera. In fact, the first time I took it out, went in the snow, I was doing snowshoeing with my ex-girlfriend, wife actually. We broke up when we got married, basically. Dropped it in the snow, got covered. I think it dropped it, in fact, when I was changing lenses. So there was possibility that snow got inside. Fine, worked out fine. Wasn't weather sealed, nothing like that. But it worked out good, and I sold it a year later for next to nothing. Not because of the snow. Thing was in good shape, but I bought it for half price. But the whole thing back then, at least it seemed, and that was 4 years on into the mirrorless world. It seemed like mirrorless was stuck on this idea that everything has to be small, everything has to be tiny, everything has to be ready for the road, for travelers, And at the time, no camera on the market, in the mirrorless world at least, was designed for professionals. Not that any are necessarily designed for professionals now, except for Olympus's, one of those ones that they, Olympus are out of the game now, but they made one last year, that big box and all that, bad EVF, which is one of the crazy things that we're almost 10 years, or we are 10 years in the mirrorless world, and the EVFs are still, and I predicted this, note that hey, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I think in like 2015 or 14, I was like, it's going to be at least 10 years before mirrorless EVFs even come close to looking as good as an OVF, and that's absolutely the case. I got right here, it's so bloody heavy, man. A 5D Mark II, and on it, as you can tell, is the 40mm STM 2.8 lens, pancake, I guess you could say, which makes this camera about as small as a proper size SLR gets, and the body, I think, is 900 grams. The lens itself is like 100. So it's, the whole thing is a kilogram, which is going to be about 400 to 500 grams heavier than a high performance mirrorless camera. Although if you put, if you make sure it's got a full frame sensor in it, you're basically sucking that difference down to about 200 grams between the two. But mirrorless cameras have always been about being small. I mean, Sony, their big thing was squeeze a huge sensor into a tiny little mount, squeeze all of that in a tiny little body, and you can take full frame with you. And now we got the Sigma FP, and it's tiny. But it's sort of a different market, isn't it? Then finally, Leica come around with their SL, and they designed something the size of an SLR, the weight of an SLR, and the robustness of an SLR. And then we got Panasonic doing the same thing. And in 2018, Nikon and Canon finally joined the full frame game for mirrorless. And by the way, I'm just going to check the stream. How we doing? Hey, we're doing good. Got 2 people watching too. Hey, whoever you are, thanks for watching. Don't know who you are, but I'm glad to have you. Stay, please. But one of the differences, now you could see Nikon, a lot of people are like, it looks exactly like a Sony A7. I don't want to call the people that say stuff like that retards, but basically that's what they are. When the SL came out, they're like, it looks exactly like an A7 or an A9, like a copied the Sony. And then Nikon 3 years later comes out with the A7, or no, Z6 and Z7. That could be why they thought it looked like the Sony, because the Sony is A7 and Nikon did Z. It's like basically Alpha versus Omega, and they both got 7 in them. Not sure that's the best sort of logic, but not only that, it doesn't really look, I mean, apart from the grip being the same spot and all that. Anyway, like, it looks exactly like an A7. Well, one of the things about the Nikon one, apart from having a really great grip, a nice mount and all that, is that it is a little bit, I think, a little bit small. If you add a little bit of a grip extension, all that works fine. Battery's pretty good on it. But Canon, their EOS R, yes, it's smaller than a DSLR. Little bit, you know, if you compare it to a 5D Mark II, it's not as tall. Don't have an EOS R here, by the way. Rented one 3 times. Changed my life. Not really. But, you know, not quite as tall. But it came out with a grip that's basically lifted straight from a 5D. Nice and thick like this, so you can wrap your pinkies around it and all that. You know, it'll orphan a little bit. But your hand goes around it without any sort of gaps in between this grip here, because it's not too thin like the Fujifilm one. From the gate, they brought out a camera that's easy to hold. And from the gate, that camera was like a small SLR. Yes, there's a whole bunch of problems. Their EVF, unless you have native lenses, there's this kind of like weird blackout frame thing there. And I tried it with native lenses, didn't see much of a big difference there. There's a problem with that. But we got, and you saw it in the 1DX Mark III, the mirrorless engine that's installed in that DSLR is, and Fro knows, Photo, the guy with the big Fro, he put that next to an A9 II or A9 in a basketball game. He had to hold it out like this because he couldn't use the EVF or whatever. Of course, it doesn't have an EVF. And it was keeping up with the Sony, no problem. And Sony, of course, is, you know, we're looking at 10 years of mirrorless sort of history and all that technology distilled down to a tiny high-end sports body. And the Canon, which is DSLR, was keeping up with it. So, yay Canon. Well, apparently, don't know. We don't know exactly because we got the rumors. Canon rumors wrote it, so it's got to be right. The R6 and the R5. Let's go back here. No, that's the wrong one. Wrong page, dude. The R6. Here are the R6 specifications. You all know this. You've seen it. 20 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. What's important about that? Well, it sounds like it's the 1DX Mark III. Does a 4K 60p. Does full HD 120p. If you hear anything in the background, it's my daughter, my wife. It's got all this good stuff. It's got 12 frames per second mechanical. So if you're coming from XT3, which I am, you're not changing nothing. And the 20 frames per second electronic, I think that's a little bit downgrade, but whatever. The only thing that we know, at least for the 1DX Mark III, that's kind of problematic, is that it appears to have a bit of a jello effect when you're doing video. And that is a problem, obviously. That's something that I don't expect in a $6,000 camera. But the R6 is not going to be that, and the R5 will also not be that. Both of them going to come out with brand new sensors that we haven't seen in other cameras, except again, maybe the 1DX Mark III. But you look at the design of those bad boys, and let's just go over here. Scroll down here, scoot in, and I believe this one right here with the little knob, that's the R6. And this one without the knob, that's the R5. The R5 looks to be maybe a little bit bigger, but the two bodies share the same beautiful grip. They share the same humped EVF. They share the same, basically the body is exactly, well, as far as I can tell, roughly the same, which means, and they appear to follow the form factor essentially of the EOS R, that it is going to be easy to hold. And that is the hugest, biggest difference that Canon, from the gate, have over everyone. Even the Z6 and Z7, as good as they are to hold, not quite as good as the Canon. And then you got the Panasonic, which is absolutely perfect in every way. It's got all the buttons right place, everything. And the SL is one step behind that. Those are great, but the SL is missing important buttons like the CAF dial, etc., right near the autofocus on button. And the Canon doesn't have that, but they have a very good switching system in their menu. Panasonic do it perfectly, but of course, as we know, their autofocus is, what is it called? DFD. And DFD just does not keep up with action. It's brilliant, absolutely instant for single point, but for constant or continuous, it doesn't even come close. Let's check the health. We're doing good. We're doing good. No one's chatting. Thanks, guys, for not chatting. I don't know when I have to
Like, just get mad at you guys. Chat, man. Bring up a chat. Gosh.
I don't know how to like keep up with you guys not doing nothing. Maybe I'm not interesting. The point of this is that the R5 and the R6, they're Canon. Canon in some ways is boring. Why are they boring? Because they're the biggest. Why are they the biggest? Because they're the best. I'm not a Canon guy. I started out this whole digital game I had a Nikon D200, then I got a D800, which is a great camera. By the way, D800 autofocus absolutely is better than the X-T3 that I have today. X-T3 is from 2018. Nikon D800 is from 2012. The US R that I not purchased but borrowed 3 times, better than the X-T3. We are coming to the gate with second generation Canon technology, and that technology is just gonna blow the game away. Why is it gonna blow away Fujifilm? The autofocus. Autofocus is gonna be better. We already know that. It's gonna follow faces better. It's gonna do eye better if you want to do eye stuff. It's faster. It's smoother. Fujifilm does a lot of jumping, or it instantly grabs onto something and then it catches and then goes back, or it hunts. It does a weird hunt wobbly thing. And Canon, no, it smoothly transitions from place to place. There's nothing like it. I mean, Sony, they do a very good job. Canon, I think, are just right up there. I mean, there's no one up in their tier. So they're going to come with the best autofocus. They're going to come with the best grip. They're going to come with, and this is the big advantage of Canon. Not all their lenses, but most of their USM lenses, all of their STM lenses, basically the EFS and EF mount are ready. If you got an adapter, they work great. I used the 17 to 35. It's an old one. I used a Sigma. What was it? No, I used the 135 to the first version. Didn't work that well, but it worked. Evidently, the second version works a lot better. I used a whole bunch of EFS lenses. They all worked perfect. And lenses that didn't work so great on the DSLR because they needed a lot of focus adjustments. This is the 31.4 art, which, by the way, is a really great lens. Totally better drawing than your Fujifilm 35 1.4. Totally better, heavier, easier to use, better ergonomics, smoother focusing, all that. They're coming to the gate, or out of the gate, with their second generation. Their first generation was already great, but their second generation coming out with all the compatibility to use all those EF lenses, as well as third-party lenses that now work better because they're focusing straight on the sensor, as you know, yada yada yada. They got that plus the best grip, the best autofocus, and I think the best menu system. I'm not a Canon guy, like I said. I bought an 80D in 2018 or 2019. I can't remember which. Was immediately impressed with how well it autofocused for video. I just needed it for some YouTube stuff. By the way, sign up, guys. Subscribe. I'm not doing something right. Got to figure it out. I've been doing this for 3 years and I got 2,500 subscribers. So subscribe. Buy a hat. Looking forward to seeing you here. But I was immediately amazed by how well that thing autofocused. Incredible. Now, Canon's problem with video is it's like it's looking through a couple of glasses. Fujifilm X-T3 video is just blisteringly sharp. Nothing I've seen compares to it. I mean, Fujifilm just strangely with the X-T3 and even the X-T2 was very good. X-T3 is just right up there, the best in the game for quality output. And Canon are, even their R is like 2 steps back from that. Their 4K looks bad. Their 1080p doesn't look good. Their JPEGs, Fujifilms are still ahead. But the RAWs, I don't know. I'll just say this. As long as Canon can sort of fix their video output quality, they got everything going for them. Everything. And they don't have any of the baggage of, we got to make things small first. So can we go back here? What is this? This is just, here we are. Because Fujifilm came in, that evolution graph where it's like the guy carrying all the stuff, and then he's not carrying as much, and then he's carrying a little bit less, and then it's finally one guy walking with a single tiny little camera with a single little lens, and he could have done that from the very beginning. I don't know why you're comparing a guy carrying a bag of lenses and probably some sort of like support with a guy with just a lens walking around like, woohoo, there's the evolution. That's mirrorless. He could have been a DSLR guy with just a prime from the very beginning. Anyway, there's a baggage that Fujifilm have, which is to be as small as possible. And their cameras are. And I don't have my X-T3 right here. It's downstairs. But have to use a grip with it. It's way too small otherwise. And its dials, well, the X-T4 fixed a lot of them finally after, 10 years? The dials in the X-T4 come out farther, so they're easier to use. And the grip is better on them. The pitch for the grip, at least. They're fixing things finally, but 10 years on, their joystick sucks. Their AF on button sucks. And what do we see on the back of the R5? Man, I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to use this web page thing very well. But the placement, let's see if we can find it. R5. Click on the R5. Hopefully OBS is, hopefully I'm doing the right thing. Oh, I'm doing the right thing. Sweet. All right, R5. Wait a second. Adorama, that's not what I want to see. I want to see the back. Just showing me the back. Come on. Here. Let's go. Canon EOS R5 back. Let's see if we can do this. Let's go to any old image here on the internet. Hopefully I don't get like... got copyright struck the other day for something. Look at that. The AF button is right next to the joystick. Right back there. I mean, that's even better. That's even better than this bad boy here, the 5D Mark II. And, it's right up here, which means it's not going to be in the way of other buttons. There's nothing up there that you want to press that you can't because you have to go across the AF button or the joystick. And then the AF button's right next to it. Canon are studying what to do and they're making it better. Fujifilm kinda are, but they're still using those little click buttons that don't really tell you when they're on or off or whatever. I just gotta say this, guys. Oh, hey, someone's here. AD Sataya, my eyes go to Canon for the first time because 28 to 70 f2. Oh my. Yeah, I mean, geez, that's probably a beautiful lens. That lens even dwarfs, like you put that on an EOS R, which is not the smallest of the mirrorless cameras, and it's like, where's the camera? But and the EOS R5 doesn't appear to be any larger. But that's probably a beautiful lens. I can't afford it, although I have been using Leica, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I agree. Canon button layout. Yeah, that's a thing. When I picked up the Canon, it was always a joke. My good friend of mine that got me into digital photography, named Genki, he helped me do one video of at CP Plus a year and a half ago, showing the Panasonic, and which was a totally incredible. The S1 was a totally incredible camera, and I was amazed by it. That dude got me into it back when I was in 4th year of university. And he's like, dude, check this out. This is a Nikon, what was it? D70, I think is what he had. And he's like, it feels chunky. I was like, how's chunky a good thing? And I put it in my hand. And I was like, ooh. Because I had used my dad's, I don't know, EF, let's say it's like a 300. Like, I think the first one that was the popular one that you did for DSLR digital. And that Canon had great output, worked really well. But once I put the D70 in my hand, I was like, whoa. Or maybe it was a D100. Whatever it was, it just felt like a camera. And so I picked up a D200 later on, and I loved it. However, I got the D80. Or 80D. Just, I don't know, the middle of the road camera that no one cares about. The autofocus didn't have the great 3D tracking that Nikon did. Absolutely not. But point to point, faster than Nikon. The lenses focus smoother. The lens design, apart from my one problem with Canon is where they place the AF, at least on their DSLR cameras. The AF and M button, it should be down here. I don't know why it's way up here. I don't know, maybe so you don't accidentally twist it. That could be a good thing. But there's nothing. How do I put it? When I had a question on the Nikon, it's like, okay, I better go get my manual. When I had a question with or dig into my phone, which shouldn't be doing, evidently lowers your sperm count and all that. Keep your phone away from your pockets, man, if you're a guy. If you're a girl, probably not good for your ovaries. Keep it out of your pockets. I'm going to take that out of my pocket right now. Whew. Is anyone else's lap really hot? Just keep it out of your pockets. With a Canon, if you don't know what's going on, you hit the info button. And what does it do? It brings up a manual. Just blow your brain. Blow your brain. When I found that out, now I didn't read anything about it. I didn't buy the Canon because I wanted to change brands. I just, I saw its little screen that goes out to the side, and I heard that its DPAF is good. And gosh, you press on something and it autofocuses on it. And then it follows it. And that's the 80D, which is like, it's cheaper than XT3. It's not an exciting camera, but it just blew the XT3, blew the H1 all off the ground. It had some plastic parts, but it was sturdy. You hit the info button if you didn't know what's going on. And what happened? The manual pops up. And you're like, all right, I can do this. I can do this. And you can just figure things out. And the menus, they're laid out, as you know, as you Canon guys know. As you Canon guys know. Now, I have a DSLR. That's all I got from Canon, the 5D Mark II. And I had the ADD, but it's gone. It's gone now. But as you guys know, the menu is laid out in vertical columns. Vertical columns. And then you can scroll up and down in that. You click on something to expand it. You got the info button to tell you what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, it's all right there. It's so simple. Yes, fine, read the manual to know exactly the ins and outs of the small things, but you don't need it. A regular person's like, I just want to pick up a camera and use it. Doesn't need to. And why do I bring that up? Because as a Fujifilm user, and this is one of the things that Fujifilm users always talk about, we're like, I just want to pick up a camera and just be able to use it. What does that mean? What that means to a Fujifilm person is, I want to know where my ISO dial is now that we have ISO dials on the Fujifilm. It wasn't important before that. I want to know where my aperture is. Of course, some lenses don't have them or they're not labeled. And I want to know where my shutter speed is. And I want to see everything when the camera's off, is what they say. However, the menu system is a joke. It's so complicated. In fact, I haven't even got my X-T3 to work with my computer USB tethered. I still can't get that running. What else? What else can I not do with that camera? Loads. I can never... It took me... This is embarrassing. Could be my IQ problem. It took me a couple of years to figure out how to customize the buttons so well that I didn't have to go to the final page, then to the screen setup, and then over to turn off the EVF manual exposure preview, which if you don't... This is my studio where I shoot magazines and advertising stuff. Wait, I shouldn't. Am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? I think I'm doing this right. All right. Anyway, with the Fujifilm, you got to turn that off. And with all mirrorless cameras, the problem is in the studio, if you're using flash, you got to be able to focus. But the mirrorless camera is always what you see is what you get. So you got to be able to turn off the flash in order to focus on something. Otherwise, it's going to be a black screen. As you know, you're stopped down to f11. Or it's just really dark and you're f2.8. You're going to do stacking. You need to be able to switch. Evidently, with the Canon, you just have the flash transmitter or whatever on it, and it does it automatically. I don't know. I didn't see that with the Fujifilm. Switching that, it's in the last page under screen setup. I don't know why it's under screen setup. I would never have thought about that. But everything over the years that I've noticed about Fujifilm menu setups is they're complicated, and the Canons are easy. So Canons come into the game with already a much easier to set up menu system. We know that. If you have an R, you know it. I don't know about the M, haven't really used it. If you have any of their DSLRs, even the 5D Mark II, it's easy as pie basically compared to any camera I've used. The Leica SL is very simple, but there are fewer options overall. I think Leica always try to strip. They have loads and loads of functions, but they try to strip things away so it's just easier to use. So I have no fault with how Leica set things up, but they don't have the manual installed. Then Canon have, I think, the best grip in the business. It could be a little bit longer so you don't orphan your baby finger. But they have great placement for the AF button. At the moment, they have one of the best AF joysticks out there. Now, we know we're not going to get that nice little touch thing that's on the 1DX Mark III for the EOS 5R or R5, R6. We don't even know what the back of the R6 looks like. However, However, at this point, it could be exactly the same as the R, and it would still be a huge upgrade as far as I'm concerned to the XT3 that I use. It could, even if it didn't have a joystick. Now, we pretty sure it's gonna have a joystick. Looking forward to, of course, the announcement on 9 July because of that. But so they got the best menu system with the inbuilt manual. They got the best grip. They've got excellent buttons, which are not trying to be mirrorless. They're trying to be in between mirrorless and DSLR. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're not trying to fix what ain't broke, you know? They're doing it properly. Mark H, by the way, got a comment here from Mark H. Yeah, GFX menu is not that great either. Sometimes I'm searching for stuff, and I had this camera for 2 years. Canon is very intuitive. The Leica menu is also great. Yep. Okay, so I have an M10 as well. I no longer have the SL, by the way, and I have the GFX down on the... It's on the floor, man. I got the GF on the floor. Yeah, so I'm in this dilemma. I'm going to get off track here for a moment. My dilemma is this. If the R5 is priced well enough, what I'm not too expensive, what I'm going to do is sell the GFX. I don't like that camera very well. The output is great, fine. I hate using it. I'm going to sell the GFX 50S and then hopefully with that money be able to afford an R5. If I can't, well, I'm not going to be using the XT3 anymore. And as I've hinted, or let's be, what's the word? Let's be, you know, I had the word right on the tip of my tongue. I wanted to sound all cultured. As I intimated before, there we are. As I intimated before, my event business basically went kaput because of COVID. So that means that I may not. Well, we'll just see. We'll just see. In any case, the GFX I'm not that happy with in a studio like this when you're doing macro, even when it's lit like this, and when I have flashlights on, and I've got the extension way out here too. I think my bellows go out. You know what? I'll show you my bellows. Just stay there just a moment. Don't look down, by the way. Don't look down. You guys always look down. Don't look down when a guy stands up in the middle of COVID. All right. All right, this could be bad news. Looks like my daughter may have stolen my GFX. All right, so I just got my bellows here. Maximum extension on this thing, I think, is 300 millimeters. Let's go out here. This is maximum extension. I wish I had the GFX right here attached to it, just to kind of explain to you. But when I have it, even on a fast lens here, this is an f4. Although in its barrel, I think it's an f5.6. But f4 max at let's see, at 1:1 ratio. I think 1:1 ratio is something like right here, this length here. If I have the bellows there, that's 1:1. It's slowing down a little bit. When I extend back out here, it's basically, I think, 3 or 4 times real life. At that extension, you've suddenly got this multiplication factor, which is like f4 becomes like f16, and the GFX is like this. The EVF or the tethered live view or whatever, or the LCD is like this. It's like using a Hasselblad digital back from 2015. It's so bad that it's almost unusable. In fact, despite how sharp images that you'll get from that thing, when you try to focus the images, it's like cannot tell what's in focus because it just doesn't update fast enough. I'm sure the GFX 100 has a much better processor, so it can keep up with that. The SL had no problem. It started to slow down once you went to about 5 to 6 times extension, but it would never slow down like the GFX. I used the R on the same thing, and it slowed down definitely, but nothing like the GFX. X-T3 is a lot faster as well. But anyway, even the, what is this, the 5D Mark II, that thing doesn't slow down. And that thing's from 2008. That thing does not slow down anything like in live view, anything like the GFX does. So once I find the GFX again, well, if I don't, then I won't be able to sell it to get the R5. So maybe I'll just be getting the R6. But basically, in studio, the GFX 50S has great output, but getting to the image before you've taken the image is actually a chore. And it's one thing I'm really looking forward to sort of skipping or getting out of, because Canon is just so easy to use, man. And in the audio world, people are like, man, what's the best sound you can get? And I'm like, oh, well, this sounds great. This sounds great. That's great. Also, great performance from those. And like, what's your most recommended earphone? I'm like, not the two that I just talked about, not the three I just talked about. My most recommended earphone is actually it's no longer made. It's the Audio-Technica CK10 from 2008. By the way, 5D Mark II also from 2008. Interesting. But that's probably some gematria about that. Don't know. Have to do the maths later on. Maybe there's. But why? Why is the CK10 my favorite earphone? Or the one I recommend more often? Or there's another one, a more recent one would be the Tin Hi-Fi T4. Why do I recommend that one? Why? Because it goes in the ear real easy. It's comfortable. It's easy to use. Cables can exchange. And there's the price is good. The sound is good. But it's just easy to use and comfortable. For audio, especially if you're going to put it in your ears, the most comfortable thing, or the thing that I can that makes me recommend it more than anything else, is how it feels. If it doesn't feel good, if it's not comfortable, it doesn't matter how good it sounds, you're not going to use it. If it hurts your ears, you're definitely not going to use it. With a camera, if you have to use it, especially professionally, now let's say, as is always told, and I found this to be the case, that when you're shooting professionally, now you may have long days. Let's say you do a wedding. I'm not a wedding photographer. I did the wedding thing 2012, 13, I think, was when I was part of a studio there. And you would have very long days. However, that would be once, twice, possibly 3 times a week. And then you would be doing editing for wedding. You get rid of the photographs that you don't need. The photographs that you do need, do they need color correction? You're using your computer a lot. However, despite the fact you're using a computer a lot longer than you are probably using your camera, and you're doing other stuff, whilst you're using your camera, it's really important that you can use the camera without fatigue. Just like those earphones, if they fatigue your ears, you're not going to use them. And Canon, I have every confidence that it's going to be easy to use, the R5 and the R6. After using the R, that the autofocus is going to be phenomenal. That is going to be great in the hand. The output, the R, by the way, I compared in 35mm mode, the GFX to the R. I could tell no difference. Same lighting, same lens. And I know people are like, dude, but why are you comparing the R to the GFX in 35mm? It's a medium format camera, guy. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, there's a whole bunch of problems. If I put the GFX in full format, like the GFX format, and compare it to the R, side by side, and frame them to be perfectly alike, the problem that we run into is that the GFX then and the R have to use different lenses. So then what are we comparing? Are we comparing sensor? Are we comparing the lens? Are we comparing the angle of view? What are we comparing then? In fact, if I had to use a different lens, I'd have to use different light power as well. So what I did was I put it into 35mm mode, and I know that kind of hampers the GFX. So the GFX has a sensor that's 60% larger or whatever. But even still, everyone's bagging on the EOS R because it's got a 2016 sensor that wasn't that great in the 5D Mark IV, and the GFX, fine, the sensor's from 2014 or 15, whatever. But it's much larger. Should technically be much better, and it does have great output. But compared to in 35mm mode, the files were exactly as malleable with the EOS R and the GFX. I found no difference. I'm sure there's better DR for the GFX, but the R looked great. I don't have the image up here. It's on my blog somewhere. Not sure if Fuji Rumors published that or not. Whatever. The point is this. The OSR is going to have great output, and it's going to be easy to use. And it's going to the EOS R6 and 5. They're coming into the market as a second generation, and they're the first, I believe they're the first cameras of any mirrorless generation. They're coming in. Okay, when I say this, I got to have some caveats here. Panasonic with the S came in straight aiming for the professional. Now, like I said, the autofocus is not up to snuff, and Leica, in their way, aimed exactly for that market. But Leica's, let's put Leica to the side. The Leica SL is not the same. It's not going. You're not going to use a Leica SL or any of its lenses for sports. You're not going to do that. For weddings, maybe. Very fast autofocus even in the dark, but not for continuous follow focus or whatever you call it. But Canon, absolutely. From the second generation, those cameras are, and people are talking about them, man. I look at the D preview and people are like, I'm coming from Fujifilm. I just picked up an RP. I'm totally surprised. The RP is incredible. People were bagging on the RP, but it feels great in the hand. It's easy to use. And that is what people are going to come back to. Fujifilm users, we've been all, I say we, I haven't been, but in general, Fujifilm users have been, hoity-toity. We've been like, our cameras are so easy to use. You can chill everything just by switching everything on. It's like a classic camera. Our cameras are better, got better JPEGs. Do have better JPEGs, by the way, absolutely. But no, they're not easier to use, and people are figuring this out. Maybe they're easier to use than the Sony, and Fujifilm users hate Sonys. They absolutely hate Sony. They hate Sony. Sony is like, I guess Goliath and Fujifilm are David or whatever, but it's some sort of Satan and God scenario. And Sony is Satan. I don't believe so, but their grips are Satan. Absolute Satan. Their A7 until the recent one, even my metrosexual fingers can't get between the grip and the lens without gnawing off part of my finger, just like Angry Photographer found out. His review of the A7 III was rubbish. If you looked at the screenshots he did showing like the image quality, it's like, that thing's not focused. There's just no way. And he could be like, well, but they, you could go to the D preview or any other place and see they do perfectly sharp photographs. But he could be like, well, they're lying to you. They're not. The A7 III is a great camera. Inside, outside is just horrible. Canon are coming again. Got the AF button in the right spot. Got the joystick in the right spot. They got away with that. Took away the menu bar that not everyone liked. And what do we got? Second generation. Who knows what the autofocus, how good it's going to be. But if the R6 is going to be like the 1DX Mark III, we're looking at A9 II performance from a second generation camera. And everyone's like, Canon came to this game too late. But now everyone's talking about Canon. And they're the biggest seller, not because they got lucky. They're the biggest seller because they made the right decisions early on. The EF mount, you can now use all those lenses. Like this freaking incredible 40mm pancake. Sorry about that. You can totally use that. No problem. With an adapter, it should work better than it does on a DSLR. And this plastic fantastic, or not, it's not plastic, the 51.8. Incredible lens. What's it cost? It's like $100 used. Same with this one. No one else has that. Your Fujifilm, your equivalent to this, $600 or $500. $600 or $500. Is it sharper? No. Does it have better bokeh? Well, I don't know. That's kind of a discussion that you can have. I don't think so. It's a spherical, so you're gonna get onions. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I'm. And here's where I get sort of the check in my spirit, as a charismatic preacher might say, whatever. That is, I've been in the Fujifilm world for so long. I've got a bunch of Fujifilm lenses. I've written articles that have been published by Fuji Rumors. Thank you very much, Patrick, by the way. Excellent lad. And my website, don't update it fast enough, long enough. Hit me up. I've been in the world. I even, for a while, used the Fujifilm GX680 with the Hasselblad back. And now I'm going to switch. I know it. there's no way that when the RX or the R5 comes out, even if it's 20 megapixels, which by the way, that's kind of a bugger. Going down from, I'm using the X-T3 at 26, going down 6 megapixels is gonna be trouble. And the D80 or 80D was 24, I think. Going down is a problem. I don't like that. However, that thing's gonna tick all the boxes. This is gonna be it. The price is right. Sensor size is right. Full frame is, yeah, there's a lot of competition there. Yes, you're right. Anchor photographer, you are right. Ken, you are right. There is too much competition among full frame cameras. Absolutely. Sony, Nikon, Panasonic, Sigma, Canon. Anyone else? There's someone else there? Who knows? Who knows what happens when Olympus's new buyout happens? Who knows they're gonna be full frame or not, or if they're gonna even go on. What's going on there? 3 months ago they're like, we're not gonna sell out, we're not gonna get out of the game. Now they're out. Anyway, we got lots of competition there. And Fujifilm are tearing it up in the APS-C game, but gee whiz, is there a difference between APS-C and full frame? My D800, when I look at those files and compare them to my GFX 50S, yes, the GFX 50S is better. How much better? 5%, maybe? It's higher megapixels, whatever. Yeah, that's great, but I don't know. A modern full frame sensor with Canon autofocus, Canon ergonomics, Canon menu system. I'm gonna switch. I'm literally gonna switch teams. And I don't know. I think getting into the Canon world is a little bit more intimidating. Got to be honest. There's more users. A lot of you guys out there. You guys being in the game longer. I'm not sure. I haven't seen, at least when I go to Canon forums, I haven't seen that you guys are mean or whatever. A lot of the Fujifilm forums are kind of toxic, I guess. So the Canon seems to be pretty decent. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of sort of envy for other brands or hate for other brands. So I'm going to be wading into a bigger pool. I don't know about that. Hey, Mark H has got another comment here. He's like, dude, you're rambling. Thank you for getting me on point. I'm using A7 III for event. Might sell that for an R5 or R6, but I love my GFX, using it for outdoor product shots. That's perfect with that. Outdoor, Mark, since I'm chatting to you right now, and I don't know what sort of the delay is here, what sort of outdoor product shots? So are you doing like cars or something like that, or tents, camping gear, camper vans, something like that? Like, what sort of things? You doing moving stuff? Is it still life? Tell me, by the way. Kampai. Cheers. Whatever you want to call it. Motorcycles, automotive. So you're doing stuff that's moving? I'm chatting with someone here. I don't know he's faster typer than me, but are they moving? Oh, and your GFX, which one is it? The 50 or the 100? Interesting. While I'm waiting for you to respond, I found that the GFX, I have an adapter for Canon lenses, and interestingly, this is very strange to me. Lenses like this, the 31.4 from Sigma, and I've got another Sigma. What is it? I don't remember. I've got another Sigma that doesn't work very well on the Fujifilm with an adapter, on the Fujifilm X-T3 with an adapter, and that one has PDAF focus, as you know. On the GFX that only has CDAF focus, the 50S, it focuses better and more reliably for some reason with Sigma lenses, and sometimes with Canon lenses. I got no idea why. Okay, so you got the 50S same with me, and you got the 45 and the 100. So I don't have any of the autofocus lenses. I used to have the 63, never used it. So Mark is using his GFX 50S. He loves the output of it for doing automotive photography. Well, that's really cool. I'm glad you enjoy that, and I hope that you continue to enjoy it. And if you join the R6 or R5 world by getting rid of your A7 III, dude, I hope you enjoyed that as well. I'm hoping the same is true for me. Here's what I'm thinking is going to happen. If my event photography business comes back, I probably am going to replace the Leica M10, which, by the way, I did a video. You guys saw that. M10, I believe, is one of the greatest event photography cameras of all time, with the single proviso that you cannot lock its shutter speed dial, which means if you have a flash, and with events, I always have a flash on. They're always indoors. Most of my event stuff is either embassies or school stuff, school-related things like proms, also business stuff. I'm not doing weddings at the moment, but when I had the Leica is perfect. You look in through a window, it never gets dark, it never slows down. It's not like an EVF where it slows down, gets choppy. When it gets really dark, it's hard to focus, a little bit hard to focus a rangefinder, and there's an art to it. Once you figure out how to do it, it's really easy to focus and extremely accurate. There's an art to it though. But that shutter speed dial, see if I have my, just a moment, let me get it here. Oh hey, I found my GFX. This lens, this 50mm Sigma, this thing does not focus at all really with the XT3 on a Fringer adapter. And the Fringer adapter, by the way, got a video coming up. That thing is incredible for Canon lenses. But on the GFX, this lens focuses. It makes horrible grinding sound. Let me see if I can do this. Don't worry. We're going to come back to the Leica here. Just a second. Turn it on. You hear that? Okay, so, all right, I'm just going to, yeah. Oh, didn't focus that time. But okay, when I say it focuses, what I mean is it focuses sometimes, but it doesn't focus at all with the, you hear that grind? Anyway, it focuses. With the XT3, it doesn't really at all. So I was on the Leica shot. The one thing, well, it's perfect, absolutely perfect for events because the viewfinder is perfect. It's the great size. The body is extremely robust. You're not going to have the problem of a flash ripping off the flash shoe. That body is robust. But here we are. But the shutter speed dial here. Let's see. Go to OBS just see if I can. If I'm okay. All right, that's in real time. The shutter speed dial does have a full stop here, so you can blindly tell, okay, I'm on the auto setting. And then if you know your shutter speed, you can count down in the dark to what speed you're on. And that's perfect. There's no camera on the market that does that. I think Leica just basically do this perfectly. They know their interfaces, their hardware interfaces are perfect. Except for the fact that the shutter speed, the max flash sync speed, I'm not sure if you can see this here. There's a little red like Thor's hammer here. That thing is at 1/180. But if you have a flash on here and you're changing your aspect ratio all the time and you're zooming it out and you're jumping to get high up shots and you're going down and you're doing slow sync shots and all that, the chance that you accidentally nudge this higher, so it's 250 or God forbid 400, high. I've only ever lost, like I said in that video, one photograph in my entire professional life with the Leica. However, so that meant that with the Nikon, I think if you miss the flash sync speed, the bottom cuts off. It's a black frame on the bottom. With the Leica, it's the top. So you're going to cut off heads. With the Nikon, you could crop in and still get something. With the Leica, you're going to cut off the bottom or the top. So I lost some heads. One time's too many. So you cannot, because you cannot lock that, there's no physical way to do it. There's no software way to do it as far as I know. Software, certainly. I had a long conversation with a gentleman by the name of Ricard. There's no way to do that, and I think that is a big default in the design, and that's the only default I can tell for Leica. And they, like, here's on their ISO, it's locked. All they have to do is do something similar. It's open, you can rotate it endlessly, lock it. If they could do something like that, for that, this would be the perfect event camera. No, it doesn't do autofocus, but again, if you know what you're doing with a rangefinder, it's so intuitive to both pre-focus and post-focus. You don't really need it. You don't really need it. That said, I'm 40, and I've noticed it just in the last year. And a comrade of mine is like, by the way, when I say comrade, it's not because I'm a communist. Well, I'm thinking about that. All right, I'm a communist. Don't buy my hat. I'll send it to you for free. No, I won't. comrade of mine is like, I hit 40 and almost immediately, suddenly I got like the old man eyes. And I don't have it immediately, but the transition at the moment is happening. And I'm noticing that however well I can focus a rangefinder and however intuitive it is to focus it, suddenly at events, I'm noticing that my eyes are not able to keep up as they did. And so that's why I suddenly want to get into autofocus all the time. Now, for magazine and macro stuff, obviously, no, there's no need. But at events, again, if my event photography business comes back, absolutely, I'm going to be getting autofocus. And so, if all goes well and the R6 seems like a great option, I will. There's 3 options, 3 things I'm thinking of doing. If the R5, isn't too expensive and I can sell the GFX and afford the R5 with that to replace it for what is this called? Magazines and advertising stuff, still life, I'll do that. If it's too expensive still there, and again, my business has completely suffered because COVID. All right. What I will do is probably pick up an R6 and a Sigma Quattro DP. Adapt my lenses to that. That thing, 25 megapixels, that thing, the output of that thing is almost as good as the GFX at base ISO. It's detailed. The blow-ups of that I've seen are almost as good as the GFX. So I can pick up one of those for about $400. Just adapt it. It's got the flash syncs, everything I need. Horrible interface, all that, but don't really need the best interface for magazine stuff, and it won't be any slower on macro bellows than the GFX. So that's cool. I think we got a comment. I'm gonna go here. Ned Kelly, Head Ned Kelly. Don't think I've ever seen you here before. Good to see you. Let's see here. If I would not be driving, I would join the discussion in the chat. But you have one listener here. Keep it up. Hey, welcome. It's I think this is the first time I've seen you. If not, sorry about that. Welcome. The only reason we're still doing this is because the stream is actually alive. I've had something like 5 false starts, not of this stream, but of many in the past. So hopefully we can do this a little more often. But thank you. And Mark H, how are you liking the M10 sensor? I love the glass, but I feel it overexposes so easy, and the highlights not easy to recover, if at all. Okay, yeah, that is a problem. The highlights don't recover well on the M10, but I noticed the M240, which I had before, also did not recover very well. And interestingly, I know that back in the day, the Canon sensors were famous for recovering highlights, but they don't seem to be keeping up with the Sony sensors as well anymore either. So I was very surprised actually with the X-T3 the other day, recovering some file that I took just on my daughter. And I think in Lightroom, I took down, yes, I know, don't use Lightroom with your, whatever. But I took down the highlights by I think a full stop, like -100. And there was still details there. And that was insane. For the Leica SL as well as the M10, 25 was about max. And after that, there was nothing there. So that is a problem. The glass on Leica, I don't think anything compares to it. And what I mean by that is there are some lenses that are sharper, absolutely. But I think Leica, what they've always done and what they're doing now is they give you options. So my favorite fast 50 of all time, with some provisos. If you saw my latest video showing the Zeiss, here. Okay. For an SLR, my favorite 50mm of all time is this bad boy. It's the Zeiss FE mount, I guess ZE, whatever. Canon 1.4 50mm lens. It's got the best bokeh I've seen, bar none. There's nothing that compares to it, in my opinion. And what I mean by that is, it's sharp enough. It's sharp, but it's a little bit glowy, wide open. But if you can nail the focus, and there is a problem with this, if you can nail the focus, it is sharp enough that everything looks in focus. Nailing focus on a mirrorless camera is almost impossible. And that's because it's a little bit glowy or low contrast, I don't know what the word is for it, wide open. With a mirrorless, it's very hard to focus. With a DSLR, with the right focus screen, I can't remember which focus screen I have on the Canon. It's the one that darkens a little bit but makes it easier to focus bright lenses. Nails it almost every time, as long as things not moving. This is not an autofocus lens. But the lens that I've always looked up to and consider the best 50, apart from that, well, I mean, if you want sharpness, contrast, ease of focus and everything, and basically, even though this is based on an older optical formula, this is the pre-aspherical Zoomilux. Why do I like this over the aspherical one? I don't like aspherical lenses, is the main reason. Aspherical lenses always give you that onion ring bokeh, and a lot of times, not all the time, some lenses are not done like that, but a lot of times you don't have the right amount of fall off, and so things are just, it's almost like a computer took the bokeh and installed it in there. It's like, oh, okay, that's really even bokeh. It's just really even, and I suppose that's good, and that's what every lens should perhaps be, every lens maker perhaps should be aiming for. But it's not got enough character, and with this lens, it's got the right amount of fall off. Bokeh has a bit of swirl to it, so the outside is more characteristic than the inside and all that. It's just beautiful, and it's sharp, and the color's incredible. Favorite 50 in that way. But in terms of absolute just art, this one, the bokeh is the softest. The cat eyes are not hard edged. There are some double outlines, but they're double outline only on the bottom or the inside, and it's light. The outline is not heavy. It's not distracting. 200 degrees of focus on this thing. But it doesn't autofocus, and that's kind of a real shame. But that's, what was this an answer to? I don't remember. Anyway, that's my favorite 50. Works great on the Canon 5D Mark II. Does not work on mirrorless, of course, because mirrorless, for some reason, the EVFs are still, I think I was optimistic 5 years ago, said like in the middle, like 10 years from now, we'll probably get EVFs that are as easy to use as OVFs for people that like OVFs. I think it's probably going to be another 10 years or 15. One of the reasons is there's not enough contrast, there's not enough resolution. Your eye, I guess, is always updating the shadows and the highlights, and so what your eye sees is totally different than what the EVF sees. EVF wants to see one or the other, so it's not natural. So that's one of the problems that I still have with mirrorless. And oh gosh, another thing I should really mention is, especially coming from the Fujifilm world, when I picked up the SL, let's talk about the SL first. What really struck me about the SL was it didn't have this horrible constant aperture chatter. I don't have the X-T3 here. I don't think. I don't. Sorry about that. But would the Fujifilm do that? Let me see. Or the GFX? Let's see if because it would be nice to be able to. This is on an adapted lens, of course, but let's see if we change. Do you hear that? This is an adapted lens, so it probably sounds a little bit different than what. Do you hear that? I'm not sure if you can see that. But this is insane. This is one of the worst designs ever for any mirrorless camera, and that especially from Fujifilm, who pride themselves on making their cameras look like ancient or older film cameras, and everyone's like, it's just like using an old camera. It's just it's mirrorless. Well, what's happening is instead of raising and lowering, I guess, the temperature or the voltage of the sensor so that the sensor itself changes sensitivity for light and darkness, what do? They constantly, as long as you have this in automatic or aperture priority, shutter speed, whatever. One of these automatic, if you have it in manual exposure, it doesn't do that. For instance, this is manual exposure. It won't make that sound. But if you have this in automatic exposure, it's constantly going to do that stupid, horrible chattering. So what do you see through the EVF? I don't know if it'll show you. Instead of having the sensor just nicely go dark or light, whatever you're seeing, what you're going to get instead is constantly changing depth of focus. And you're going to hear the stupid aperture chatter. And things don't just go bright and dark. Suddenly what was not in focus is now in focus, and you're like, wait, what I thought I was focusing on that. And it's because the camera is telling you it's going to stop down the aperture down to f8, and it's going to open back up to f2.8 or 1.4 or whatever. It's going to do that without you asking it to do it. And it's loud. It's annoying. And it's supposed to be what you see is what you get. But no, it's not. It's not. Because until you half press the shutter button, it's going to just ramble all over the place. And Canon don't do that. Leica didn't do it. When I picked up the Leica, the other thing I noticed was the Leica SL focus rings, even though it's fly-by-wire, was smooth. It wasn't this weird, didn't feel like it was on gears. And Canon's, even their cheap lenses here. Let's see, how cheap of a lens can I find? Well, I guess there's a 24, I don't have their zooms right here. I wish I did, sorry about that. But the 24, it's a cheap lens, $100 US, or 150 US. It's a tiny little chintzy horrible zoom ring, but when you turn it, it's not grinded on sandpaper like the 35 1.4 Fuji or even the 50 1.6. And when you turn it on the camera, Nathan, you better get a good example of this. All you Canon guys, you know this already though. Turn it on. It's not the same lens, but it's basically the same lens here. I can't mount this on the 5D Mark II anyway. When you turn it, the motor does make a little bit of noise, but you don't feel the jump. There's no feedback of the jump. And the Fujifilm, you feel the feedback in the jump. Like, okay, we're doing stair steps now. The Canon, it's just smoother. It's just so much better. Fujifilm, I don't know. Fujifilm interface is just horrible. It's the worst. The worst. At least you can hold it without hurting your hand, like with a Sony. But I mean, I don't know. Leica cued me into the fact that there's good design mirrorless cameras out there. Canon, more complicated in some ways than Leica, but they've just made it so much easier. And that the crux or the thesis of this rambling video, that thank you guys, all 7 of you guys that are watching. The thesis is this: when Canon do bring this bad boy out, and we're gonna zoom back. Let's see here. No, that's not it. R6 specs. We got the 20 megapixels here. We got the IBIS. It's gonna be great. The 12 frames per second mechanical shutter. 20 frames per second electronic. It's gonna be essentially XT3 level mixed with, I think, A9 level. Probably have more jello there. Oversampled 5K video. Hopefully it's gonna be sharp. I don't think it's gonna be as sharp as the XT3, but you're basically gonna have, in general, very good specs, except for that 20 megapixel. I'm not sure about that. Dual card slots, but you're gonna have the Canon Shock and R. I think that's clever, by the way. Shock and R. I'm not thinking about becoming a comedian. I couldn't do stand-up, but sometimes I have very clever things to say, and Shock and R is absolutely clever because they're coming in with this second generation camera. Even the first one, which people say is a prototype, even that first one, the R and the RP are just that is an alarm clock going. Canon design better cameras the first time than your 6th generation Sony or your 6th generation Fujifilm. And this is going to be the 2nd generation of the mirrorless, and they're coming with a great grip, DPAF focus, higher frame rate. It appears to be a good sensor, better video, dual card slots. With the R5, at least we know, great joystick, good position, perfect position of the AF on button. And if you had an ADD, like and I also borrowed a 5D Mark IV, I was also amazed at how easy it was to connect to my phone. And the application for the Canon wasn't the best design thing. Leica has a better design and perhaps better programming, but immediately connected and it never disconnected. Leica was also very good, but the Fujifilm, people have been complaining for years. The application is horrible, absolutely rubbish. And Canon's, the 4-year-old 5D Mark IV was like, wow, I wish Fujifilm would have done this in 2020. Maybe we'll see it's like in 2025, if the world's still here. If the world's still here. If Israel has not healed the world, or whatever. You know, Fujifilm not going to do it. Canon are going to bring great grip, autofocus, everything else. Fine, but no top-down screen. Kind of upset about that. Anyway, guys, I don't really have much more to say. If anyone's got any more questions, or I should say, if anyone has a question, anything to say, I would love to hear from you. If not, I am just going to quickly sip my sake. You know what? Thank you. By the way, thank you very much. I've never even done an intro video, so I don't think a lot of people even know who I am. I mean, the people that know who I am know who I am. There's a tautology there for you. But a lot of people who come into my channel, and I'm not good with this on my website either. I don't know how to keep people, because I'm like, for instance, in secondary school, everyone had, you know how you sign your yearbook? No, I didn't even have anyone sign my yearbook. I was just like, okay, I'm done with that. And I moved on. And I think that's a big sort of mistake in my character. And that happens with my website as well. This channel, I'm not good at sort of introducing and sort of trying to hook on to people or have them hook into me or whatever. So I think I have some interesting things to say, but I do not, unfortunately, work at that sort of marketing aspect of myself or things that I'm involved in. But that is to say that hopefully there'll be some more interesting stuff to come. Some good streams. It'd be nice. 8 people's very nice. 9 people. I think we had a peak of 10. By the way, my channel has 2,540 subscribers, I think, which after 3 years is pitiful, and I think that's my fault. But there's a lot of quality viewers among them, and I thank them very well. And for all the people, 3 or 4 of you guys that chatted here, I thank you very much for coming out. It's also very nice, Mark. I'll be really interested to see how you think. If you come back, we'll have a discussion. It'd be great. What you think of the R5 or R6. One last thing I was going to describe was, if the R5 is too much money here in Japan, and Japan, a lot of times cameras start out at a higher price than the USA, and tend to cost about the same as Europe. For some reason, these are Japanese cameras, but the market more quickly corrects itself. So after 3 months, the camera will be $300 cheaper, whereas the US, it'll probably still be at the same price. So, but let's say that the R5 is too expensive. So I get the R6 to cover the wing of business that I was just about to open when COVID hit, and that was family photography, which I have done before but have not done as a main thing. I'm trying to get out of the advertising thing. A bunch of reasons for that. Essentially, I'm not a person that really loves the idea of capitalism, and I'm sort of starting to feel bad about advertising things with great photographs that people don't need, and they feel like they want to buy it because the photograph's great. So I'm feeling bad about that. So I want to, if I'm going to stay in the photography thing, I want to move into family photography, and I know I have the chops for it. I have the skills for it, and I have the experience for it. So the only thing is, will COVID sort of make that impossible? If not, then maybe it's time for me to pack up photography. But in the case that still works, and let's say I stay in the advertising thing and I just find some sort of hypocritical path forward. Replace the GFX for sure. Macro, fine. Output quality is incredible, especially with the automatic focus unit, which I have over there. But focusing is too hard. Let's say the R5 would be perfect. If I can afford that by selling the GFX, then R5, great. But I wouldn't want to use my main camera outside for events if the events come back. The plan is sell again, the M10 is perfect, but my eyes aren't so good anymore. Get an autofocus camera. And what would I like to do? Because I don't like the EVF for events, X100V. That's the one. Absolutely. It's not exactly like a Leica. It's not a real rangefinder, but it does autofocus, and you can look through an OVF. So that'll be great. If events don't come back, then like I said, R6 for just my own family and whatever other business comes in. And for magazines, the Quattro DP S or whatever it is, the one that you can change lenses on, that's a mirrorless. It won't be any worse than GFX, and basically same output. It was $400. So that's what I'm looking forward to. This is Sake, and this has been me chatting to a screen with a little bit of feedback from the wonderful chat for an hour and 18 minutes, guys. Thank you very much. I don't really have a great way to exit out, but if you guys want to hear one great song just on the way out, let's go back to is that how we do it? Oh, hey, we're back here. Rocco. This guy, Rocco W, his song, if you want to get there, it's in the link on the bottom. He does some incredible music, a little bit video game inspired. We're going to go out with All Will Be Well. I'm going to maybe, here, let's see, how do I do this? Hopefully you guys can hear this. Put it low and let that serenade you on the way out. Ned Kelly, dude, you're charismatic. You need more followers. Thank you, Ned. I hope you follow. Mark Chan, how about Sigma? Dude, right as I'm about to go, Mark Chan comes in and Ned Kelly. Here, what is this music too loud? I don't know. Probably can hear it in the background. It's only on for 3 minutes. We'll try to get out of here in 3 minutes. Okay. Mark Chan, I've never used the FP. I'm not obviously, as you can tell, I've done a couple of video things, but never professionally or anything. So I assume that camera's way too much video camera and perhaps too interesting for me otherwise. I would rather get the Foveon one because 24 megapixels is great. However, I started my advertising still life business with a camera that was at the time, actually D200, so 10 megapixels. I immediately moved up to D800, and so that was 36. It's hard to go back down to 24. You see, I could do it. I had a 15 megapixel image of an earphone printed out 2.5 meters by 2 meters, and it looked incredible. So it could be done. But if I'm going to go Sigma, I'll probably go Foveon just to get the extra kick. And that thing that Quattro thing doesn't cost any money here at all in Japan. And that's it. I mean, unless anyone's got another question before the music runs out. I don't know how much longer. It's a 3-minute song, 3.4. Here, let's bump up the jam just a little bit. Bump up the jam. All right. Oh man, there's another way. Hey, Ned Kelly. Yeah, I'm a long-time follower. 1.5 to 2 years. Ned Kelly. Well, that's the first time that I've seen you in a live chat. So that's awesome. I hope that you'll do it again. I hope you'll do more. I'm not good at. I got a little dyslexia, I think, here. I hope you'll do more of there. I think you might have some as well. I got no idea what that means, but yeah, hopefully we'll do this a little more often. Guys, thank you very much for coming out. If we can do this again in the next couple of days or next week. Like I said, we had a whole bunch of problems last week or 2 weeks ago. I think was the last time I was really streaming, where the streams just went down. I'm not sure what happened. So that was kind of a real bugger to sort of do. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. It's been awesome. Hopefully see you later. Oh, by the way, before I go, this is like the third false alarm on the way out. Let me bump down the music's already done anyway. Ha! Rocco. See you later, Rocco. All right. Ned, we're not done yet. False alarm. I got 2 reviews to come out of Fauxtaku's 21 f 1.4 for Leica and the 35 1.2 Mark III. And let me tell you this, bad boys and bad girls, that Mark III is a 1.2 35 millimeter lens. It's like that. It's like the same size as this 50 1.4. And it's sharp, very low distortion, very high quality. I was hoping to get it out tomorrow, but I'm having a barbecue on Saturday and I have got to scrub the outside of the house. We got mold. So, sorry, Fauxtaku. I know you're not watching this, or Koshina. but gonna have to publish that next week. Awesome lens for all you Leica guys. Awesome lens. And the 21, I'm not very good with wide angle lenses, super wide angle lenses, but that is an incredible lens. When what was the guy that was really popular? Ken Rockwell. When he used to call the Fauxtaku lenses for Leica, he's like the dirty little Fauxtakers. They were back then in like the early 2000s. They were not. They were ugly. The glass was quality. They didn't have the best construction quality, but the new Fauxtaku, man, it is every single one of those lenses. And two of my favorite lenses. Yeah, man, this is totally false start. I was cracking down. You guys were ready to just like go take a bath or whatever. The 35 1.7 Ultra and Classic, awesome lens. Yes, it's a spherical, so you get the onions. And the other one is the 50. I really got to organize this thing here. Just a moment here. Don't worry. Don't you worry. I didn't break anything there. The 50 1.5. Freaking amazing lens. Fauxtaku are basically, I don't think they're as creative as Leica in terms of how they draw all their, they make the sort of draw styles of all their lenses, but they're right up there, and they're willing to experiment. I think they're just right up there. So I borrowed those two lenses. I have no financial like shake hand agreement with them. Disclaimer, they may have wanted me to shoot, well, if I ever do stuff, you'll know for them, but I'm just borrowing the lens and they're awesome. Anyway, thank you guys very much. See you later. Ned Kelly, thank you very much. Mark Chan, it's awesome. And Ned Kelly again. See you. Mark H. And Viandita, it was great to have you, as well as Aji Satya. Excellent. And Martin, if I see you again, that'll be awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to hit the off button and just try to put a little outro music. Just a little bit, one more time. There we are. Wait, no, it's not on. All right, there we are. Okay, guys, that's it from me. I'll see you later. Have a blessed evening, morning, middle of the day, whatever. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.